Hey everybody, welcome to Moneyball. I have another special edition here today. I'm very stoked about. Today we have Kate McDonald, aka Glitter Dunn, right? You got to say it like that, I think. Glitter Dunn.
Yeah.
Uh, she is with she is with the Queen City Roller Derby here in Buffalo and plays for the Alley Cats. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, we got double dip Cajun.
Double dip Cajun.
I'd give it a 10 out of 10.
Seems to be the wing of choice, and you're
Yeah.
going with a 10.
A 10 out of 10.
Well, I think these guys know what to order now then, right? Double dip Cajun. That's the way to do it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It's very cool. I love getting into these different sports, which let's not get it twisted. This is a sport, and this is a pretty hard
Oh,
sport, right?
yeah. Full gear. We wear elbow, knee pads, wrist guards, helmets, but it's full contact and we have a rule book, but there's some big hits in there. When people see it, they're like, oh, these girls are tough.
So that's what we're gonna
And I
hop right into. We're gonna hop right
Yeah.
into it. Tell me about Glitter Dunn, man. Tell me a little bit about Kate, how you got involved with, Queen City Roller Derby, and talk to me about it. Let's hear your story.
Yeah, so I grew up just like loving hockey. I saw some pretty big names on your channel, so that was impressive.
Thanks.
But just like skating, I had inlines when I was little. And then after I graduated college, I wanted to kind of be more like active and like get into something. I met you out at yoga. I was into yoga pretty heavy and it was an interesting community, but I got some quad skates and I just went skating and I ran into some people at Delaware Park and they were out recruiting for my old league. I played Renegade Roller Derby for 5 years. So that is no longer in Buffalo. Most of us are playing with Queen City now.
Okay.
But I fell into it, immediately loved it and started playing right away. So it's been a fast 7 years, but it's a great addition to my life and a good outlet for some of the aggression.
Yeah, I think that's you hit it right there. I was gonna say, like, what a better way, to you had a rough day, right? Let's go out and just start smashing. I personally have never seen it. I promise you 100% that I am going to. I'm actually excited to go out and see it now, and I'll make a point, obviously, to come out and see you guys, and I want to cover one of your games if that's cool. But for the average
Yeah.
viewer of Moneyball, who probably doesn't know a whole lot about it, tell us what it is, as far as how you accrue points and the basic setup. Like, talk to us like we're all 5 years old here.
Well, that's what I have to do all the time because most people don't know what derby is. For anyone that plays, it's really like a passion. Myself, I'm in the medical field. I do like medical science. We have like doctors, just any person you can imagine that plays. But it's 4 blockers, and you have a blocker and a pivot, and that's your main wall on each team. And then you have a jammer, and they'll have a star on their helmet, and it's the objective of the jammers to get past all of the really scary blockers.
Okay.
I used to jam when I played Renegade Roller Derby. I actually had a bit of a big injury when I came over to Queen City,
Okay.
and I haven't jammed for them yet. I
Okay.
will do a pivot, and I'm trying to get more into it. But the pivot is the only one that can take the jammer's star from them. So that gets kind of strategic. So when the there's so many words that don't even come into the normal human language, but when each jam starts, you have to start behind the jam line as the jammer, and you break through basically your 4 blockers on the opposing team and your blockers on your team. So sometimes you're throwing your own players out of the way,
Okay.
they're getting in your way, like there's offense going on during the defense, but the main objective of the pack is to block the other jammer from scoring points.
Okay.
But it gets complicated.
How is a point scored?
A point is scored, so you have to make initial pass, the jammer does, when they get through the people in the pack. And then as they come around the track the second time, they have to stay in bounds and not get any penalties. And then they pass all of the blockers again. For each blocker that you pass, you get 1 point.
This seems really confusing and involved. I'm not going to lie to you.
It really is, and there's a whole rule book. That's why when I started, I played Renegade Roller Derby. I'm kind of glad I fell into that one, because we had no penalties, no rules, nothing. But we still, the objective was to play safely and have fun and enjoy ourselves. But now there's a whole, like, you step out bounds, you have to step out in behind the person that hit you out, or that's a penalty. There's forearm penalties, like if you aggressively push someone with your arm and they fall, that's a forearm. There's a whole rule book, which was very fun to learn. And
What contact is allowed? I mean, because obviously it's, a bunch of y'all coming up trying to get past the others. So a forearm shiver and taking someone down is a penalty, but isn't
Right.
that naturally going to kind of happen? So I guess, like, what is the fine line of what's allowed and what's not there?
So there is like a legal contact zone. Anything in your chest is actually legal. I did a lot of that the last game where I was actually skating backwards, and then you'll stop, put your toe stops down on your skates, and you'll catch someone on your chest and you'll stop them that way. And then you
Oh.
can really give somebody shoulder,
Yeah.
knock out. Um, but you still have to be traveling in derby direction. So from the start line, derby direction is going to be counterclockwise.
Okay.
So we're always going around in the circle the same way.
Is there a lot of penalties during the course of a game?
You are allowed to have 7 before you foul out for the game.
Each
I
individual person, almost like basketball rules? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you
So
get
many penalties it takes in basketball to foul.
well, I mean, a similar thing though, right? So basketball, it's 5 or 6 depending on college or NBA, but same thing. Then that person's out of the game. When you get a penalty, what happens?
You're going to have to put your hands up, stop engaging with anyone. If you hit anybody after a penalty has been called on you, that is an additional penalty. And you skate outside of the track and make your way to the penalty box as quickly as humanly possible, safely.
Okay. So there is a penalty
it-
box.
Yeah, you sit down for exactly 20 seconds, stand there for 10 more, and then you can go.
Okay.
And then you get the action as soon as possible.
Now, how do you guys do it? Is it quarters or halves, or how does it work that way?
Yeah, so there's 2 30-minute halves, and then the jams I was talking about before, where you start with your whole pack and everything, those can run up to 2 minutes, but they can get called off early. So if a jammer passes through the pack without any penalties first, they get lead jammer status. And then it's their choice or not if they want to end the jam early. I don't know, 2 minute and
So I'm
1
not
minute.
gonna lie. There's smoke coming out of my ears right now. You can't see it.
So I've found that in this sport, there's a lot of people that are like very mentally strong people because it is so athletic and like involved, but it's also chaos and you need to know what's going on to be as effective as possible. I pulled a penalty on somebody and that was my proudest moment. I was like, oh, now I'm really thinking to do, like.
Yeah. So here's how kind of I'm interpreting it, just where my brain goes from being involved with the sports I'm involved with. The jammer being like the running back on a football team, and you have 4 blockers in front of you, and you're trying to skate by and then get past the defense, and you have the blockers blocking for you, and you're trying to get past their 4 linebackers, which are like their blockers. And once you pass them twice, you get a point.
Yes.
Yeah?
Or, well, 1 point for each blocker that's on the track. So barring that none of the other team's blockers are in the penalty box, you would get 4 points.
Okay. But that's
But
pretty, that's okay.
blockers are also attempting to do offense. Occasionally, you'll have a weird scenario where there's a penalty for a blocker and the other team's jammer will start blocking.
What is the average score of a game?
I want to say, like, you'll have some really low scoring games where the jammers are just held down and they can't get out and do anything. But the home team games that we've had this season, we have really good jammers on all of the teams. So you'll have scores that are like 200 to 100. I haven't seen a 300 game recently, but if you're like a really, I don't want to say bad team, like Unfortunately, the Alley Cats have not won a game this season, but there's a lot of really good players on the other teams, and you could have a 300 to like 50 score. Like you could that much of a
And
discrepancy.
the last thing, is it a running clock or no?
So in between jams, the clock gets stopped.
Okay, so it will stop. Okay. So obviously that's a lot for people to handle. What you and I just did, we probably went into it a little bit too much. Let's go into the genesis of roller derby and how it was created and how long has it been around? How big is it globally? I mean, do you know some of these things as far as representative of the sport itself? Is there pro leagues and things like that that are higher up? Like, how high does it go up? And
There's the teams all over New York State, all over the US. They're with the playoffs this year, are actually going to be in Britain somewhere, I believe.
Wow.
But those are like the top 10 ranked teams, I believe, are invited. I know the Lake Effect Furies, the Buffalo travel team, was top 20 ranked in the world for WIFTA at one time. I'm not sure where that all hangs right now with COVID. Things got really weird for a while. So the rankings, you have to play other ranked teams and that all changes. I think it started in the early 2000s.
Okay.
But I didn't start playing until 2016, so I kind of came in later in the game. And it's had like its swings down and resurgences, I would say. There used to be bank track roller derby, which people think like I play, which is not. We play flat track, which is what WIFTA stands for. It's Women's Flat Track Roller Derby Association.
Is the other like that oval track you'll see where it's kind of right where it goes up slanted? Is that the one? Okay.
So that used to be on TV like back in the 80s. So that was time.
Okay.
But
it wasn't before my time, so I'm dating myself a little bit, but I remember watching that. Now, are there kind of icons, I guess some of the pioneers or people that uh girls or again people that are very into the roller derby, kind of their heroes, icons, are there people like that in the sport, right? For example, is there any famous quote unquote roller derby girls, that everybody says I want to be the, like hockey, Wayne Gretzky, right? You know what I mean? Ken Griffey Jr. baseball. Is there that kind of an atmosphere?
So there's, in the few years that I've been doing it, I don't know if she's active anymore, but one year I had the pleasure of, everything is self-paid, by the way. Like you need to have money to do this. Skates are so expensive. We pay to rent our rink time. Totally worth it for me. Like it's a gym membership, whatever. Like, and it's something, but I went to RollerCon in Las Vegas summer, so it's godly hot, but it's a great time and it's a roller skating convention. And one of my favorite people there was Peacekeeper. She's like a really famous blocker. And then Scald Eagle is a famous jammer, but I just know them by their derby name. So if I said the name, I wouldn't even know. But there's the top ranked teams. There's Rose City, and then Gotham City is in New York.
Okay.
And they are like top ranked. So you'll watch some of their footage. It's all available on YouTube. If you look up like WIFTA championship games, when I was sitting at home with a broken ankle and wanting to go back, I was literally sitting here watching those.
Yeah,
but
no, and I'm actually going to add some of that footage in, as far as what you're referring to. And again, the point of this was a couple things. I wanted to get to know you a little bit, and I also wanted to really raise some awareness to the craft. I think what you guys do is, I mean, absolutely astonishing as far as the physical ability, the athletic ability.
Yeah, I think the best way I've heard it said before is there's a few like influencer trainers that I follow, and the one, her name's Chrissy Crash. She lives in Costa Rica. She has a podcast, which she's literally building a training facility in Costa Rica. So catch me there playing roller derby eventually. But she said you can't get in shape by playing this game. You need to be in shape to play.
Absolutely.
And like it's not necessarily like the typical like body size you would see for athletes. Like any body can do it. I was genuinely bullied in high school for being like a tall or like larger statured like female, and now it's like you see this sport and I have people that I can literally look up to, and me being there and holding my own space is prideful now. It's amazing, like it's a win. It's not taking up space that you don't deserve.
I am so
Like
glad.
that,
I am so
like
glad that you just said that and brought that up. And I mean, you just said it best, right? You got bullied in high school, for being a certain size or shape. And one of the things, like, people were so narrow-minded and so naive. And what I do love is, obviously, as we're adapting as a society, right? This whole Barbie doll figure, or this whole, 5'5", 110, right? Like, that's kind of out the window, right? And the acceptance of that obviously is one thing, but it should have never been that way in the first place. I mean, everybody should feel pride in the way they look.
life, but that's just because like working out 5-6 days a week, you're gonna pack on muscle. Like there's no way around. Like my legs are super strong, but like back then I would be helping with work at the farm, or my dad's a mechanic. We'd be out in the garage doing stuff, yard work. Like I've always been like strong and physical. I would get into lifting. I was powerlifting for a long time.
Yeah,
So background
I love it.
that's gonna make you so strong, that fast twitch, like you're just gonna be so powerful. And anybody with a hockey background that gets into roller derby, just watch out. Like
Yeah. No,
if been skating since they were 5, just you don't have a chance.
you see muscle on women and true athletes, as opposed to just trying to fit a certain bill. It also says how mentally strong someone is. So that was the best a 45-year-old married man of 3 and with 3 little boys can best go into talking to a younger female about women's body shape and sizes. So I hope I did okay on that.
It was respectable. I met your wife and she's gorgeous. She has 3 children. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I was struggling with that. I'm like, oh man, what I get myself into here? I'm starting to talk about women's body shapes and I'm a 45-year-old dude with a show. So, but hopefully I didn't embarrass myself too much on that. My point is, you guys look great and you should be very, very proud of everything that you guys do. So you can get tickets for Queen City Roller Derby at qcrd.net.
It might have changed, and I apologize. I sent you the wrong one. Our next game, yeah, coming April 5th. I won't be playing in that one. That's a home game. The Devil Dollies versus the Suicidal Saucies. So that's a rematch of the championships last year. Those are the 2 top ranked teams for home teams. And then I'm playing again April 14th. We'll have our playoff game. And that's a Sunday.
April 14th, which is a Sunday at Riverworks.
Yeah, 2 p.m. That was our plan.
Awesome. I got it locked. So one of the other things I wanted to jump into, obviously you got Glitter Done as the name, which is so cool. And the personalities with the roller derby, between the team names, I know you said Gotham City and some sauce thing and this and that. How does that work? Does each girl come in and say, is there a vote? Like, are your peers, do they say, hey, this is what we should call her? How do all the cool names come about?
So most of the time, I feel like it's really early on, like when you're first training with teams. Like I got mine with Renegade. I had probably been to like 2 months worth of practices, like 2 to 3 times a week. And we were just sitting around stretching after warm-ups, and I'm like, I really need a name, guys. Like I'm playing next month, like figure it out. And someone just threw one out there. Or you'll do something funny and something will stick.
So you
But
said you did mention one thing that kind of stuck out to me. You said everything is self-funded. So the teams themselves, I guess that's a little bit confusing to me, because it shouldn't be. Like, I mean, you guys, the leagues and everything else, I mean, is there owners of each team, or is it just kind of a bunch of people that get together and say, we're going to create a team? And then people do pay admission and things like that, right?
just the nature of it, it's such an expensive things. Like we'll get discount codes to help with costs of gear, but I got new wheels, new helmet, and outdoor wheels for the summer, and new bearings and everything, and I just easily dropped like $600 on skate stuff.
I think
But
you need a
like
sponsor.
We could use a sponsor.
Right, you need a sponsor. I'm gonna go to bat for you, man. Moneyball might be slapped on the back of your jerseys. Do you do things like that where you put somebody on the jersey?
No, not right now.
So I
It's
mean,
just-
think about that a minute. Like, you know, and I'm saying obviously, like, that's a humongous sponsorships are everything. And you guys are going out and entertaining a crowd. Kate or Glitter Dunn, sorry. This is just like any other sport or any other event. Like, I don't think that you guys should be paying for anything. And you know, people are going to watch you guys and be entertained for an evening. NASCAR, bowling, fishing. They're I mean, seriously, they have names all over their jerseys. You know, I know professional fishermen, and they wear stuff out there, and they're covered with, you know, DeWalt tools and Valvoline oil or whatever, right? And all those sponsors, you know, they just get you guys to pay less out of pocket. And I would be a huge advocate for trying to raise some sponsors for you guys. Gotta go check these ladies out. It is in April. There's a couple. If you want to see Glitter Dunn, next time she's playing is 4/14 at 2 p.m. at Riverworks. I will be there. I may even, you know, do a show there. We'll see what happens. But right now I'm planning on 100% being there. I cannot thank you enough for coming on and educating me, basically explaining to me what the hell the roller derby is and what the rules are. So we'll certainly keep in touch. But it was great having you.
For sure. Thanks for having me on and bringing some awareness to our fun sport that we do.
Thank you so much. We'll talk
Thanks
soon.
again.
Okay? All right. Take care. Bye bye.